Well, hello, Leah. I want to thank you so much for jumping on this video with Dora and I. We're both SSP providers, safe and sound protocol providers, and EMDR trained therapists. And we love SSP, but we have some questions. And we know many of the people that we work with may have some of the same questions. And you're just so nice and so approachable. So we appreciate you doing this with us today.
Gosh, it's my pleasure, truly.
All right. So let's just, before we get started, for those watching that may not realize who's on the video, I'm Jackie Flynn. I'm the host of Play Therapy Community Podcast. I'm a registered play therapist, EMDRIA Approved Consultant, and an EMDRIA Advanced Trainer, as well as a certified SSP safe and sound protocol provider. And also I work with couples and use Gottman method couples therapy. So Dora, do you want to introduce yourself briefly now, please?
Sure. Thanks, Jackie. Yes, I'm Dora Henderson. I'm a registered play therapist supervisor, trauma play therapist supervisor, also a CIT, a consultant in training under Jackie in EMDR, and also a certified SSP provider with Safe and Sound Protocol. And we are looking forward to talking with you today. Thank you, Leah, for having us.
Of course. I can give a quick introduction. My name is Leah Dawang. I am Unyte's Strategic Partnership Manager. What does that mean? It means that I really believe in that if we have collective trauma, we need to be collective in order to have collective healing. And so it is my pleasure and my honor to play the role in Unyte that looks at other organizations and individuals like you two and says, man, what if we linked arms? How much more could we do together than separate? So that is my role that I play at Unyte. I am also studying somatic experiencing in my last year, in my advanced year of that, and use the SSP and SC within my own coaching practice. So I'm wearing multiple different hats and coming into this conversation.
Oh, that's so cool. Somatic experiencing, Dr. Levine's work. Oh, that's exciting.
Amazing.
I have to say that the whole process to become a certified in SSP, I feel like I really received some amazing training. Dora and I both love the Polyvagal Theory. Dr. Porges has given a gift to the world. It's changed everything. The training was like amazing. Right? It did. It changed us. In fact, we both wrote children's books on how to really help our kid clients. Yes. But as far as like practicality, we have some practical application pieces that just being an SSP provider that works with children. One thing, and we have a few questions, but the first one is with young children. Sometimes children that are really any age, but specifically kids that are struggling with sensory issues, they may only leave the headphones on for just a brief amount of time before it's too much or overwhelming, and then they take them off. And we know the SSP protocol has like this beautiful set of, for those of you listening, it's a music protocol, and it has a beautiful set of recordings. So there's 3 different phases. We struggle to be able to get through with some of these clients and make progress just because of tolerance levels to just having the headphones on. What would be some ways that we could address that obstacle?
Yeah, gosh, it's such a good question. And I wonder, Jackie and Dora, would it be helpful for me to give a 30-second snippet of what the SSP is, just in case folks don't know that? For those that haven't heard of the Safe and Sound protocol that Jackie mentioned, it's a listening protocol. That means it's music. And it's music that you would likely recognize. You've probably heard it on the radio. There's both an adult playlist and a kids playlist. And the music is really special because it's been put through an algorithm designed by Dr. Porges, and the algorithm systematically teases out high and low frequencies. Now, why that's important is because these high and low frequencies give cues of danger to our nervous systems. And when we've had either stress or chronic stress or trauma, our nervous systems get biased to looking for or sensing out for those cues of danger. Now, with those cues of danger removed, it leaves the middle frequencies. And those are really important because those are the envelope of the human voice. Those are the frequencies that give cues to our system that you're safe. And that deep breath, right? That deep, spontaneous breath. And so the music is like 5 hours of pure safety to help repattern someone's nervous system, disrupting the cycle of physiological defense and bringing them back into a state of flexibility, a state of regulation, a state of connection. It's meant to connect yourself to to yourself, the world, and others around you. I thought that might just be a helpful foundation.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
5 hours of sleep.
Yes, please.
Come on, receive that. Your question is fine out. Question was such a good one, and certainly with kiddos, but I've seen that type of reaction across the lifespan, and for me, there elicits this curiosity. Like, certainly we have this intention of wanting to, it is a five hours of music or 5 hours of listening. And the original protocol was to do an hour a day for 5 days straight. But to watch the SSP evolve over time in the hands of people like you who are going, I'm running into this roadblock and it's really, I don't know if 5 hours, 5 days in a row, 1 hour, 5 days in a row is going to work for my client. When I see a kiddo or when I see an adult or anyone in between, rip the headphones off and say, no more. I get really curious because to me, as we add in that safety, I always think of like pouring it in the ear. As we add in those cues of safety, our nervous systems are touching into that vulnerability of what safety meant in the moment that we got hurt. Ooh. And so whether it's sensory challenges or trauma or a combination or anything else that's making up this particular presentation in front of me, if someone's taking off the headphones, that's a great moment for us to pause and go, maybe 2 minutes is enough for today. Yeah. And so we don't go any faster than someone's slowest part.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
So not trying to force or demand that the nervous system feels safe enough, just be there and respect the wisdom of the body. And if listening's not for them on that day, it's not for them on that day. And just notice that that's what's happening in their nervous system at that time.
Yeah. And there may be an opportunity, and I think this is where that, now that as the SSP has evolved to being much more of this flexible, the goal isn't to go through a full hour. The goal is to be really in tune with the nervous system in front of us, initiating these cues of pure safety, noticing what comes up in response, whether it's from an attachment lens or from a sensory lens or any other lens, and then dancing with what comes up. And our responsibility as practitioners is to create the conditions that we're missing, right? And so as someone says, I don't want to listen. Well, what's it like to say you don't want to listen?
Oh, it sounds so therapeutic. Just even, just kind of what
it's our EMDR. So wow. Yeah, Jackie.
Like I'm okay just as I am in this moment, whether I'm listening to it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love.
It's just with our go with that. Go with that.
Go with that.
Our EMDR. Go with that. Okay. Notice where you're at. I love it. Tap that in. Yeah. I love it. Okay. Well, you just made it even more beautiful than I already loved it anyway. But
I think it's necessary to acknowledge that it can be frustrating when you're trying to initiate or offer an intervention that gets stonewalled, right, by someone's system. They're like, no, I don't want to do it. Or with kiddos where we may not, whether it's selective mutism or nonverbal or any other barriers in communication of us not being able to understand what's being communicated in that moment, that can be frustrating. And I think that perhaps this approach to the SSP can also give our own nervous systems the safety and the grace to say, it's actually okay. Today they needed 2 sips. Tomorrow they might take 2 gulps. And to even track that over time as the nervous system becomes more familiar with the sense of safety, and that they may be welcoming to more amount of listening over time.
Oh, I love that. I love it, love it, love it. Now, just on a logistical piece, like during those first in the first 5 hours, or, I mean, the first piece where they're getting that familiarity with the music and just the process, is it important that the clinician's right there with them, or is that something that they could just be in a safe space with an adult, such as a parent or someone, to experience it, not in a clinical setting?
Yeah. Are you speaking to SSP Connect?
Yes, to the beginning, before we get to the filtered music in the core.
Yes. Yeah. So for those that don't know, SSP Connect is a different playlist. It mirrors SSP Core, which is sort of the meat and potatoes of SSP. It has the filtration. It's really doing that therapeutic work on the nervous system. SSP Connect mirrors SSP Core, and then it has the same music in the same order, but there is no filtration. So it's just music. Yeah. What's really interesting about your question, Jackie, is the famous therapist answer: it depends. It depends. Depending on how sensitive or how open someone's system is to receiving the music. We've had many reports of Connect being quite powerful just because listening to music can be powerful. I love your naming that. If the parent-child relationship is beautiful and full of rich nourishment and co-regulation, and the parent feels very attuned to what the child is experiencing, I would say, especially within a child-parent relationship, that that's a beautiful way to experience SSP Connect, so long as the parent has the education and the understanding that if my kid starts getting really upset, this isn't the moment to push through. This isn't, the moment to, well, there are no moments to create shame, in my opinion, but this certainly isn't the moment to say, like, why are you doing this? So long as that relationship feels safe from an embodied level in the kid's perspective and the adults, I'd say it's a totally appropriate choice to have them listen to Connect in that setting.
Oh, I love that. So safety and connection. It seems like that's the answer to a lot of the questions, is just safety and connection.
Which seems simple, right? But it's not. It seems so simple. And it's like, why is something so simple so challenging? Or can be?
Well, I think our clients that have experienced trauma, and ever how it's sitting in their nervous system is so different than how their everyday experience is. These answers are like really helpful. Our next question was, just as both Dora and I are private practitioners, so we see clients throughout the day, and as far as scheduling practicality, and we haven't really talked to other SSP providers, so this may be something that is just kind of shared amongst the community. I know SSP Unyte is like a big community of just healing professionals, but do they incorporate it into their therapy session, or is it an adjunct, or is it one of those, it depends on something?
Yeah. Such a good question. There are 1,000,001 ways to do art.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and there are most common ways, painting or drawing or sculpting. I use that analogy, and I kind of giggle because I've never used it before, which is, but there really are 1,000,001 ways to incorporate SSP into a therapeutic process. I was just having an incredible conversation with Jillian Hosey, who is another EMDR consultant, and we were talking about the difference between a tool, a modality, and a therapeutic frame. And so depending on your therapeutic frame and your intentions and the conscious choices that you're making based on the unique nervous system in front of you, you may choose to bring SSP in on a weekly basis, right? We're all sort of we explore this world in very interesting constructs that exist, and some of us need to work within the construct. Some of us say, get this construct away from me, I'm going to do my own thing. But if you're in a construct that says, I get to see my client once a week, and that's it, that's how much they can afford, that's how much insurance will pay for, that's how much time we have, right? Within that construct, it's a completely legitimate option so long as your clinical judgment and intuition has brought you to this place to say, we're going to do 10 minutes of listening at the beginning of the session today. And perhaps it's that you've already introduced the SSP, you know how the client's nervous system is going to react to it, presumably right based on previous experience. And you might use it as a way of helping that system go, okay, I can take in a wee bit of safety today, just a wee bit. And once I take it in, perhaps you see there was some dysregulation, there was something that came up. I actually, when I see that in my clients, I'm like, this is the gold. I have this idea in my mind that as we're pouring in this pure cues of safety, it's displacing the trauma material. And so when that comes up, we're like, oh, we might catch it with some play therapy. We might catch it using some EMDR techniques. We might catch it and process it out in whatever ways, you are specialized in your own practice. So within that construct, or you could say, well, we're going to listen to 5 minutes, or we're going to listen as long as the nervous system is saying and agreeing to it. And then the moment it shifts, then that's okay. And there are other therapists that are still, are continuing to do it in, a variety of different ways, whether it is, I meet with my client 3 times a week and we're doing SSP 3 times a week, or SSP in combination with another modality. Jackie, you made a really good point in your question in that, as of right now, we would absolutely call the SSP an adjunct to something else, and that the SSP is very agnostic. It can hold hands or link arms with any other modality, because everyone has a nervous system. We could all use a little bit of safety.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. I think about everyone has a nervous system. I think sometimes, especially right out of grad school, we forget that. We're taught to kind of leave our stuff at the door. And at the end of the day, all throughout the day, we're human and we're showing up with these clients as humans. I love that. That's really helpful that it could be whatever we need it to be. And as long as it's, be clear on our theoretical orientation and use it towards our treatment goals and never how that looks for us. That's beautiful. Now, that brought me to my last question, thinking about the practicality, and this is more of a logistical thing as far as being a private practitioner. We come into this as therapists first and foremost, but then there's this element of payment, charging. And I think many of us, Dora, do you want to ask that question? Dora accepts insurance, so there's that piece in it, but there's a cost thing.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, there's a cost thing, and that's what the parents always want to know is, how much is that going to cost? And will insurance cover that? And even for me, can I bill that as an adjunct service because it's an additional thing, wonderful tool I'm providing? What are other therapists saying on that? Are they using it and having an answer for that for insurance, or is it an out of the pocket cost, or are they just providing it as an addition, where they're aiding the cost?
First, before we go into any sort of explanation or potential offering of an answer, I just want to validate that this is a really real question. Like, this question is important to be asked. And speaking of the construct that we all inhabit living in the world, that money is a part of it. And so I always validate or want to validate this question, because we are all, I believe, motivated by this desire to seek healing on behalf of another and guide in a way that their own nervous system can heal the way it's created to. And we have families and things that we need to take care of. So I just validate the tension there, and really appreciate this question. I'll share a little bit of my own context, and then as well as how it might look throughout other people's contexts as, larger categories, but also caveating that this is another one of those, man, I wish that I could design, name your fingerprint for you, but only you have your fingerprint. And so you'll have to try it on and work out the kinks in your own practice. And would love to hear any feedback from you on the Unyte side, just so we can become more and more educated. You asked about insurance. It's a very, very good question. Lots and lots of therapists work within the insurance realm. Although we cannot give insurance advice, right? That is not the playground that we play in. Because the SSP can be done within a larger therapeutic hour, right? And it's amongst other therapeutic tools. We have seen it be accepted as part of the larger therapeutic process within that way. We've also seen it be sort of questioned or, wrestled against. So it's definitely not a one size fits all answer. And it's one of the challenges that we're finding, like, man, we want this to become golden stamped by all the payers, golden stamped by all the insurance company. And we're doing our due diligence to get to that place. So that's sort of the insurance piece. It's murky, it's sticky, and I wish I had a clearer answer for you. But on this other side, this question of how do I charge my clients for this? Do we just lump it in to my practice? Do I eat the cost? What?
Because we have big hearts.
Yeah.
Therapists have big hearts. Yeah. We'll just do it all.
Which I'm like, man, we need to get ourselves healing. Yeah. Gosh, that's so real.
Yeah.
I'll give maybe a couple of different main ways that I've seen it done. One way, if you're a private payer, I've seen someone say, would you like to go through the SSP? And it almost be its own journey itself. And they may loop in other modalities within that experience. For example, somatic experiencing innervates or integrates with SSP in a way that's almost so seamless that you don't really know where it starts and where it ends. Because you're playing with both of them at the same time so closely. So you could do it that way. And I've seen someone say it's X amount of money to go through the SSP as a journey, and I'll bring in other modalities as necessary within that context to help your nervous system grow. Body workers, I've seen that with a lot of body workers. A sample formula, if you will, can go something like this. If you think about the provider-directed time, so the time that you're actually engaging with a client directly, plus monitoring and support. So are you providing support outside of the sessions to ensure that once you engage with this sense of safety and someone then goes back out into their home life or wherever they may be, are you as a therapist checking in and being with them in some way or with their family? And then there's this thought of subscription access. Some choose to pay to access the SSP. Some choose to just lump that in with the provider-directed time. So there's lots of these different facets to sort of consider, and based on your own financial, way of working through the world, you may consider one of them to be obsolete. You may consider one of them to be like, oh, well, that's the thing that I would, I need to be compensated for. We just came out with a infographic that really walks through a couple of different helpful scenarios just to get the wheels turning, right? This is a new thing. The SSP is not that old. And so as we are pioneers kind of bushwhacking our way through what hasn't been done before, our hope at Unyte is to support you. And once we get a learning, to distill it, make it really, really usable, and then put it back out into the community so that you can move down the path with ease. Trying to figure out how to price things shouldn't be the biggest challenge. That's not our desire for you. So that infographic will be coming out soon, and maybe we can pair it with this recording so you all can take a peek at it too.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes, the actual practicality is so helpful. I think about the assessments. It really is a wonderful program.
Yes. Can I ask? I don't want to flip it around, but I have a question, and I would love to hear from y'all. Can you think about or share with, or even go inside and see what bubbles up for you, the moment in your practice where you maybe just started using the SSP or were new to it and you went, oh my gosh, I think this is working. Or like, something's different. That moment, could you share with me what that was for you?
Dora, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go?
Sure. Oh, I don't mind. It just brought to mind a client that I've been working with her trauma for over a year doing EMDR. And there's just a piece that keeps coming to her that we can't seem to get through. She doesn't even want to discuss. And how cool is it that just a couple of weeks, actually just maybe 6 sessions on her SSP music, she's now able to go there and talk about it and be regulated. And it just made me go, this is so cool. Everyone's got to experience this that comes in my office. Because we do deal with a lot of trauma I work with littles as well as the adults with trauma and EMDR, and I integrate EMDR with play, and this music, SSP music, Dr. Porges' music, makes a difference.
It's so incredible to hear that something was once so perhaps terrifying that it was inaccessible to the, will not go there. And what does it mean to help the nervous system go, oh, that I'm actually out of that time, right? And now in the
and even she's going, wow, I couldn't talk to you about this a week ago.
Wow, how freaking cool.
Yeah, I was crying and thinking about it. Now I can go through it with you. So
that's amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. And we've got childhood trauma that she doesn't even remember. She knows about and heard about, but I know there's things in utero. And so who knows what we're tapping into and healing, that whole body experience.
100%. Jackie, I know we have to wrap up so soon, but I'm curious if you have something that comes to your mind with that question.
Yes. I just want to real quick before I tell mine, I want to kind of tell in with what Dora just said in utero. Many of the clients that come to us, regardless of age, they have experienced pre-verbal trauma. So this SSP really helps all of these. I love your image of pouring in the cues of safety. It helps in ways that we may not be able to provide that level of neuroception of safety in any other way. I know we do our best to have polyvagal informed offices and materials. The way that we interact, but the music really does. It makes a world of difference. So my experience was, first of all, with myself as part of the training, I listened to myself, and I think I had made Dora I shared it with Dora so she could experience it to see what she thought. I felt the regulation in my own nervous system, and with a client that had a heavy traumatized past for decades, we'd been working together, and that person noticed that they did not yell at their spouse anymore. While that seems, that's one of those things. We know trauma wreaks havoc on relationships sometimes. It messes with our social engagement system. And sometimes things that would normally kind of seem this big, they seem this big. It really helped that person kind of have a more proportionate response to everyday interactions, which was huge. I work with couples as well. So knowing that could, change a whole life, knowing there's a family there, there's an individual, there's relationships, knowing that interaction's healthier, that's a big deal.
That is such a big deal because I'm going to soapbox. Those humans, if they choose to have babies, and then they have babies and they have regulated nervous systems and they can provide secure attachment and they're having proportionate experiences based on the moment at hand, then that baby gets to have its parents together with them. And then that baby grows up and is regulated and securely attached. We could actually change the world. Like, it just brings me to, I get so passionate. I really appreciate what you just said because it's not small. Yeah. We all take normal, like yelling at my partner is normal. It's not normal. So I just really appreciate what you've said. And Dr. Porges, to your point earlier, Dr. Porges calls the SSP the mother's coup. Ooh. Yeah, the mother's lullaby. So the in utero piece is very, very real.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think too, when you say change the world, Leah, I think about like these are breaking the patterns of the way that we are interacting in this parent-child relationship. What we know about that, it's the most important relationship in the child's life. So we are changing generations. Going back to Dr. Tronick's Still Faith video and thinking about the importance of that connection and how a baby's developing nervous system really impacts them throughout the whole life. So it is a huge deal. I love that you were able to hop on this video with us and answer our questions because we love SSP, and we love you, like the way that you speak to us. I'm feeling nurtured just hearing you speak.
I know. I love it. I'm going to watch this over and over again myself. Just to hear her speak.
That makes my heart feel very warm. I appreciate it. So lovely spending time with you guys.
So we're almost out of time, but we have a few more minutes. I want to make sure that people know where to go to pursue anything SSP related. And I know below where this video is at that I share, I'll definitely share some links, and to see if there's any more questions that we want to try to address before we finish up.
I don't have another question, but I do have something that I might just name. Knowing the folks that might watch this video, a portion of them may be EMDR trained, and we just went through a very, very large project that we're quite excited about, creating guidelines for someone who is an EMDR therapist and how they might use SSP effectively and integratedly. If you're looking to round out your practice, if you're looking to truly take care of a whole person, this may be a really cool option, an effective option, impactful option for you to consider. And so, Jackie, I will send you the link to, if you would like to read some excerpts from those guidelines and get a sense of like, is this going to be my one of my new homes? You can check those out, and we would love to answer any questions that you have. So we'll put our contact information as well. We have a wonderful program consulting team who will sit with you for about as much time as you want to talk about your practice. So.
Oh, that's great.
That's wonderful.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you, Leah. You are just amazing, and I really appreciate you. And I do want to say thanks for the book that you gave us on the nervous system. That's real helpful. It seems like a little training in itself reading that book, but it's super helpful. I shared it with the people in the play therapy community and as well as some of my trainees. It's great.
It's amazing. We appreciate both of you being a part of our provider community. You're truly standouts. I can't, the amount of times that I brought you up in conversation, we're like, I met these two and I really like them. So we're just thankful to have impactful people like you, and are hopeful that your spheres of influence would be interested in something like this. Changing the world, I don't say that lightly, and I certainly don't say it frivolously. And I'm not under the impression that the SSP is the answer. But it could be part of it. And so if we can all come together as a collective, providing collective healing to collective trauma, we can change the world. So grateful to be with you all.
And it integrates great. When I say integrate, adjuncts, or ever how we use it with play therapy. Before we end, I want to give one shout out to Deb Dana. Dora and I love Deb Dana. Her work, it's a huge part of our everyday. We've learned so much. I love listening to her on Audible. Like, I'm feeling the feels thinking about it. It feels like she's like in my ear, like a consultant just sharing with me. Her voice, her knowledge, her practical application. It is amazing. We wouldn't be able to do the work we are doing without Deb Dana's work. Teaching us.
Even in Unyte, her teaching.
Yeah,
her video.
Amazing. For those that are interested, and you sparked my my inspiration, Jackie, that we're having a summit, the Safe and Sound Summit, side by side with the Polyvagal Institute gathering in October. If y'all are interested in hearing more conversations like this, it'll be both polyvagal theory forward, as well as the practical applications thereof. So we can, if it feels appropriate to you both, we could add that link in there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to tell in on the, Dora and I love polyvagal theory, everything. We created this summit called the Neuroscience of Play Therapy Summit at the Beach. It's on February 17th, 18th, and 19th. We just had our last one in February. And
I like how
we're going to talk to them about kind of our experiences, because it is such a big help on, the polyvagal theory. We have that integrated in our parts, but also our application of the SSP to see if that's something that could apply to their practice. But that summit we just launched a link at the time of this recording, so there's space available now. It did fill up last year, so there's a limited amount of space, but right now at the time of this recording, we have some openings.
Oh, I love that.
Well, thank you, Leah. You take care. We'll put your links, like everything we can, right below where we post this video, and I super appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you both.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much for your
time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.